story Prince Harry tells of his time in the army and Spare has been ridiculed as complete fantasy, but his instructor said he will always respect the prince. The Duke of Sussex goes into plenty of detail, arguably sometimes a bit too much detail, as he recalls major moments of his life in his popular and controversial new memoir. Having spent a decade of his life with the British Army, it was inevitable that the 35-year-old reflected on his time in service, but one account in particular has left his ex-sergeant in shock. Harry says that an army instructor deliberately stalled their Slingsby T-67 Firefly propeller plane without warning, something ex-Sergeant Major Michael Booley firmly denies would have ever happened. He told the Sunday Mirror, "I'm staggered by this, in shock even." His clear version of the incident suggests Harry has come up with yet another porker, after a string of claims in his book were proven to be inaccurate. The Prince wrote in his controversial bestseller, "On one of our first flights together, with no warning, Booley threw the aircraft into a stall. I felt the left wing dip, a sickening feeling of disorder, of entropy, and then, after several seconds that felt like decades, he recovered the aircraft and levelled the wings. I stared at him. What in the absolute... Was this an aborted suicide attempt? No," he said gently. "This was the next stage of my training." But Michael, who ranks father of two Harry in his top 5 students, dismisses the Prince's tale, saying, "Whilst the book compliments me, the recollection of the sorties, combat missions, and lessons is inaccurate, I'm afraid. It's important to highlight that nothing in the cockpit comes as a surprise. Every sortie is thoroughly briefed beforehand, every single aspect. The sortie is flown exactly as per that brief. The only time there are surprises is later in the syllabus, not as stated in the book, when emergencies are introduced. Engine failures are practiced before the first solo, obviously, in case the student suffers one. Michael 57 served in the military for 33 years and taught the Duke of Sussex to pilot the Firefly in 2009. Harry, who flew Apache attack helicopters in Afghanistan, was presented with his wings a year later by his father King Charles, Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps. While Michael maintains the utmost respect and admiration for Harry, he questions parts of Spare, which was ghostwritten by leading author John Joseph Moringer. Michael says he never called the Royal Lieutenant Wales as the book claims. He adds, "I think the reference to the flying sorties has been dramatised. I think it's the result of the ghostwriting. I never called him Lieutenant Wales, he was an officer, and I called him Sir." Besides, Edward Coram James, a PR reputation and crisis management expert, has launched a scathing attack against the book, saying, "How has the story been presented? Poorly. It's broken some of the cardinal rules of reputation management. Half of the battle with reputation management is to make sure that your actions meet your words. This is all about perception." Ultimately, Harry may well be sincere when he says that he wishes for reconciliation with his family, but he says this while continuing to throw punches at them. He risks appearing insincere, and if you appear insincere on one major thing, you often reduce your credibility in everything you say. The expert continued, "There are other issues with credibility along similar lines. The Duke of Sussex criticises the royal family for not correcting the apparently incorrect story about Meghan making the Princess of Wales cry. However, it took him the best part of a year until the ITV interview in January 2023 to correct the press on their interpretation that Harry was calling some senior royals racist.